The moon hung low over the sleepy town, spilling silver light over rooftops and quiet streets. Inside her small attic room, Luna curled beneath a thin blanket, her heartbeat echoing in rhythm with the distant hoot of an owl. She had lived her life pretending to be ordinary, pretending that the wolf inside her was nothing more than a restless whisper. The mirrors of her room reflected a young woman with soft brown hair and quiet, unassuming eyes, but behind them her wolf stirred, sensing the world in ways no human could. She closed her eyes, but sleep did not bring relief. Instead, it ushered her into a dream so vivid it left her gasping. A figure appeared in the shadows of an ancient forest, tall, commanding, radiating a power that seemed to press against her very soul. His eyes were a molten amber, piercing straight through her carefully crafted walls. She felt fear and longing entwined, a magnetic pull she had no right to obey. "Who are you?" she whispered into the darkness, her voice trembling. No words came, only a presence that brushed against her mind, a memory that was not hers. The wolf within her stirred, claws scratching against the edges of her consciousness, and she shivered. There was something familiar about him, something written in her bones, yet forbidden. Morning light crept through the curtains, burning away the remnants of the dream, but not the ache it left behind. Luna sat on the edge of her bed, tracing the faint scars along her wrists and forearms, remnants of secrets she had promised never to reveal. She was careful, always careful. The world did not know of the shifters living among them, the wolves hidden in plain sight, and most importantly, she did not belong to anyone. Not yet, yet a strange sense of unease lingered, threading itself through her day. Every shadow seemed deeper, every rustle of leaves a whisper meant only for her. She shook her head, trying to dispel the feeling, but it clung stubbornly. Luna couldn't know that this unease was no accident, that destiny, like the moon, was already rising to claim her. Her wolf growled low in her chest, a silent warning, as though it already sensed the storm gathering beyond the town's edges. The dreams would return. They always did, and with them, the promise of something she could neither resist nor fully comprehend. The town stirred with whispers even before the first rays of dawn had fully lit the sky. Luna moved through the streets with measured steps, pretending her curiosity wasn't piqued by the sudden tension that clung to the air like fog. Rumors traveled faster than the wind. An alpha had come to their small town. Not just any alpha, the kind whose presence commanded respect and fear in equal measure. Luna's pulse quickened without reason, a familiar pull tugging at her chest. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, claws of instinct scraping at the edges of her consciousness. She told herself it was nonsense, an overactive imagination, but deep down she knew better. There was a scent in the wind, earthy and sharp, layered with authority, that drew her gaze to the distant hills where the newcomer had made camp. Hours later, the marketplace buzzed with cautious energy. Shopkeepers wiped their hands on aprons, eyes flicking toward the lone figure at the edge of town. He was tall, broad, shouldered, with hair dark as midnight and eyes that glowed faintly amber in the sun's weak morning light. People whispered about the Alpha's reputation, ruthless, powerful, unyielding. But Luna could only stare. Her heart thudded painfully, each beat echoing like a drum warning her to flee. The strange sense of familiarity she couldn't name coiled tight in her chest. She felt the wolf inside her stir, ears pricking, tail flicking even under the guise of her human form. "It's nothing," she murmured to herself, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "Just imagination." But when he turned just slightly, just enough, his gaze skimmed over her in a way that made her breath hitch. It wasn't curiosity, not exactly. It was recognition, sharp and undeniable, a silent acknowledgement of something neither could yet name. Luna's stomach clenched, the room spun in a blur of color, and she stumbled toward the nearest stall, hiding behind baskets of fresh produce, heart racing. The world had shifted in subtle, dangerous ways, though no one else could see it. Every instinct within her, the wolf, the human, the part of her she had fought to suppress, knew this man was no ordinary visitor. He was a force a storm contained within a single body, and it was moving toward her. By sunset, the town square was a stage set for inevitable collision. Luna lingered in the shadows, pretending to bargain over vegetables while stealing glances at him. He didn't approach, not yet, but the tension between them was palpable, thick enough to taste in the air. Her wolf growled softly, low and warning, as though it already understood what her mind refused to accept. The alpha had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. And deep down, Luna knew that this was only the beginning. The night fell like a velvet curtain over the town, and the annual harvest festival glimmered under strings of golden lanterns. Music floated through the crisp air, laughter echoing from the bonfire, lit square. Luna moved among the crowd, heart thundering, trying to appear invisible, a shadow blending with shadows. But she knew she wouldn't remain unnoticed for long. The alpha had arrived, that much was certain. And even though he hadn't spoken to her directly, the brush of his presence across the festival, the subtle tension in the air, the low hum that vibrated through her chest made her pulse race. She told herself to stay calm, pretend she was ordinary, pretend she belonged in this world without drawing attention. Then she saw him, standing at the center of the square, tall and commanding, his amber eyes scanning the crowd with quiet authority. The murmur of whispers followed him, the subtle bowing of heads as if acknowledging royalty, and then, her heart stopped. He looked straight at her. For a suspended heartbeat, the world tilted. The heat in her chest burned hotter than the bonfire. Her wolf yowled, claws scraping the inside of her mind, urging her to flee, to run. But the alpha's gaze held her fast, heavy and unyielding. There was recognition there, undeniable, yet. Something else. He stepped forward, voice carrying over the chatter. "You," he said, sharp, like a blade cutting through the night. Gasps fluttered around the square. "You are not my mate." The words hit her harder than any blow could. The crowd froze, sensing the weight behind them. Her cheeks burned, eyes stinging, and the wolf within her snarled, growling in outrage. No, this wasn't possible. Her pulse raced. Denial clawed at her throat. But the alpha's expression was unwavering, stoic, indifferent, absolute. A chorus of whispers followed her retreat, and Luna spun, fleeing the square, weaving through startled festival goers. Every step felt like her secret was exposed, every heartbeat a hammer pounding humiliation into her chest. She ducked behind a stall, pressed her palms to her face, and whispered to the shadows, "I'm nothing to him. I'm nothing." And yet, even in rejection, there was a spark she couldn't ignore. His eyes had searched her, measured her, and even if the words were cruel, the intensity of that glance had spoken volumes. Luna's wolf shivered beneath her skin, whispering truths she dared not claim. There was a connection, hidden, forbidden, undeniable. She stole one last glance at the square before disappearing into the narrow alleys of the town. The lanterns flickered, the laughter faded, but the sting of rejection burned brighter than any fire. Luna's secret life, her careful isolation, felt more fragile than ever, and in the dark her wolf growled a silent vow. He may have rejected her in public, but destiny would not be denied. Luna's footsteps echoed softly on the empty streets as she returned home, the bitter taste of rejection still clinging to her tongue. The festival lights had faded behind her, replaced by the muted glow of lanterns lining the town's narrow paths. Yet even in the quiet, she felt the pull, the lingering weight of his gaze, the heat of his recognition, the unspoken bond that had flickered between them despite his cruel words. Inside her small attic room, she closed the door and leaned against it, trying to calm the storm raging in her chest. Her wolf prowled restless beneath her skin, claws scratching at her thoughts, demanding attention. He saw you, he knows you're different, but he denied you. Why? The questions tumbled over each other, sharp and urgent. Luna pressed her palms to her temples, willing the thoughts to stop. She had to remain hidden, always hidden. One slip, one hint of her true nature, and the world she had carefully constructed would crumble. Her secret, her wolf, her powers, her bond to an alpha she had never met, was not for the world to know, and yet she could not ignore the signs. The subtle tremor in her hands when she passed the moonlit pond, The way the air seemed to shimmer around her in moments of heightened emotion, the whispers of the forest as if it were speaking directly to her. Each day her wolf's presence became harder to contain. A sudden knock at the window made her jump. Heart hammering, she glanced toward the glass. A shadow flitted across the yard, and instinct screamed that it was him. Her wolf growled low in warning, ears flicked back, sensing both danger and curiosity. No, she couldn't let him see her, not yet, not until she understood the bond that had burned so brightly in his gaze. The night stretched long and silent, yet Luna could feel the threads pulling tighter. Every rustle of leaves, every distant howl, seemed a reminder that her secret was a living thing, hungry, restless, waiting. She whispered to the darkness, "I will not be found. I will not be claimed, not yet." But deep down she knew the truth. The Alpha was closer than ever, whether he realized it or not. His presence lingered in the town, in her dreams, and now in her blood. And every heartbeat echoed the warning. The bond could not be denied forever. Outside, the wind carried a faint scent of him through the trees. Earthy, commanding, undeniably his. Her wolf shivered beneath her skin, a restless, yearning ache that refused to be quieted. Luna clenched her fists, forcing herself to focus on the normalcy she had fought so hard to maintain. Yet in that moment, she understood a truth she could not speak aloud. Her life as she knew it was already over. And the Alpha was coming. The night had never felt so alive. Moonlight spilled over the trees like silver fire, illuminating the clearing behind Luna's house. She had come here seeking solitude, a place to calm the storm of her emotions, the ache of rejection, the relentless pull of her wolf, the uncertainty of the bond she could neither explain nor escape. But solitude was a lie. Something had changed. Luna's breath hitched when she looked down at her wrist. Her skin burned, hot and alive beneath her fingertips. She froze, heart pounding. There, etched faintly at first, then glowing with a warmth that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat, was a mark, a brand she did not recognize. The shape was intricate, sharp yet fluid, and at its center, a symbol she had only ever glimpsed in ancient pack legends. Her wolf roared within her chest, claws digging into the edges of her consciousness. Recognition, destiny, bond, the words tumbled unbidden into her mind. It was his mark. No doubt, no mistake, the Alpha's mark. Fear gripped her, icy and tight, as the implications sank in. The bond was real. It had chosen her, and yet he had rejected her, publicly, cruelly. The memory of his amber eyes, dismissive and commanding, flashed through her mind. Her pulse quickened, every nerve alight with a wild, primal fear. How could fate be so cruel to mark her when he had denied her? A low growl vibrated from deep within her chest. Her wolf trembled, torn between exhilaration and fury, instinctively aware of the irrevocable connection now carved into her very skin. Luna dropped to her knees, pressing her palm over the mark as if she could will it away. But the warmth seeped into her veins, a pulse she could not resist, a call she could not ignore. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it a scent that made her stomach tighten. Earth, musk, power him. He was near. She could feel it before she saw it, a magnetic draw that pulled at her very bones. Luna's chest heaved as her wolf whimpered in longing. The bond had spoken, and it demanded recognition, whether she was ready or not. I can't, she whispered, voice shaking. Not yet, I'm not ready. But the night had no mercy. The mark burned hotter, and a thread of energy, sharp and undeniable, reached out into the darkness, toward him. Luna's pulse raced, a mixture of fear, awe, and something darker, desire. She was no longer just hiding. The bond had chosen her, and somewhere in the shadowed edges of the forest, the Alpha felt it too. His wolf stirred, his amber eyes flared. The connection had been made, and it would not be ignored. For the first time, Luna understood that hiding was no longer an option. The world had already begun to pull her forward into a destiny she could neither deny nor escape. The night waited, silent and watchful, as her fate settled onto her skin and into her soul. The air in the pack house was thick with tension, scented with pine, leather, and the faintest trace of the Alpha's presence. Luna moved through the corridors with careful steps, every fiber of her being alert. Her wolf throbbed beneath her skin, restless and insistent, reacting to the invisible pull that seemed to trail her wherever he went. She had not seen him directly since the mark appeared, yet every shadow seemed to flicker with his presence. When she finally glimpsed him across the grand hall, her breath caught. He was leaning against a pillar, arms crossed, gaze sweeping the room, but it found her. For a heartbeat, just one, his amber eyes met hers. The intensity was unbearable, like lightning striking through her chest. Her wolf growled low, a warning, a plea, a demand, and she staggered, clutching the edge of a table to steady herself. She reminded herself to stay composed, to appear indifferent, but her pulse betrayed her. Every instinct screamed that this was more than curiosity. This was recognition, hunger, and a bond neither of them could yet speak aloud. She quickly lowered her gaze, pretending to inspect a tapestry, yet the pull of his stare lingered, threading into her soul like molten fire. Later, in the training yard, Luna found herself at the far edge, practicing control over her wolf. The night was cool, silver light spilling across the grass, casting long shadows, and then he appeared, silent, powerful, as if drawn by some invisible string. She froze, heart hammering, and their eyes met again. "You're restless," he said, voice low and rich, carrying the weight of command and something softer, hidden beneath. "I can feel it." Luna's throat tightened. I'm fine," she murmured, though every word felt like a lie. Her wolf shivered beneath her skin, whining with need and frustration. He stepped closer, close enough that the air between them crackled with unspoken tension. "You can't hide it," he said quietly, "nor should you try." Her fingers curled into fists at her sides, knuckles white. "I have to," she whispered. "I have no choice." A faint smirk tugged at his lips, but it did not reach his eyes. "Choice is an illusion," he murmured, and his gaze lingered on her, probing, searching, claiming without touching. The world seemed to shrink to just the two of them. Luna's wolf thrashed inside her, aching for the closeness she could not allow, craving the bond that had already burned its mark into her skin. And yet she stepped back, resisting, forcing the space between them to remain sacrosanct. But the forbidden glances continued, stolen moments in corridors, brush of hands near the training yard, the faintest inhale of his scent when he passed. Every look, every near touch, ignited a wildfire of longing she could neither suppress nor satisfy. And in the shadows of the pack house, she realized that no matter how hard she tried to deny it, the bond had begun to claim her heart. One look from him, just one, and the world tilted. She wasn't ready, but fate, relentless, unyielding, did not care. The forest beyond the town whispered secrets in the wind, carrying the scent of pine, earth, and something darker. Something watching. Luna moved carefully among the trees, senses alert, her wolf straining against the invisible leash of control. She had felt it for days, eyes following her, subtle disturbances in the air, the faintest trace of jealousy that set her teeth on edge. It was no coincidence. A rival pack member had noticed the mark on her wrist. The same mark that screamed of the Alpha's claim. Someone else wanted it, or wanted her destroyed before the bond could fully manifest. Luna's pulse quickened as a shadow moved behind the trunks. She froze, every muscle taut, heart hammering, instincts screaming warning. The figure stepped into the silvered moonlight, tall, muscular, and sharp-eyed. A sneer curled his lips as he regarded her. "Thought you could hide from me," he taunted, voice low and venomous. "You don't belong here. That mark. It should never have chosen you." Her wolf snarled, claws scraping at the edges of her consciousness, demanding defense, demanding dominance. Luna swallowed hard, forcing herself to remain calm, though fear and anger warred within her chest. "I belong exactly where fate placed me," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. He laughed, dark and cruel. "Fate, don't flatter yourself. That Alpha has no idea what he's gotten into. You're weak. You're expendable." Every instinct in her body screamed to fight, but she hesitated. She could not reveal the full extent of her power. Not yet. The wrong move could expose her secret and put her life in immediate danger. Yet she would not cower, not completely. The rival's gaze flicked to the faint glow of the mark on her wrist. His expression hardened. "I'll be seeing you again," he said, and with a final menacing glance, he melted back into the shadows, leaving the forest eerily silent. Luna exhaled shakily, Wolf whimpering in tension, ears pinned back against her skull. She pressed her palm to the mark, feeling the pulse of the Alpha's bond beneath her skin, a steady reminder that she was not alone. The rival may have tried to intimidate her, but the bond already tied her fate to a strength far greater than this one shadowy adversary. Yet a sliver of unease gnawed at her. If the rival knew enough to see the mark, how many others could follow? How many dangers lurked, waiting for her to falter? Luna shivered, though not from cold. The forest seemed suddenly alive with whispers, each rustle of leaves a warning. Your life has changed. Nothing will ever be the same, and she knew he would come, the Alpha, drawn by the bond, by destiny, by the mark that now defined her. But for now she was alone, with only shadows, secrets, and the looming threat that the darkness was growing closer with every heartbeat. The night air was electric, thick with the scent of pine, rain, and something primal that made Luna's skin tingle. She had been avoiding the town, keeping to the outskirts, trying desperately to suppress the swelling power inside her, but it was no use. The bond, the mark, her wolf, they all demanded release. Her hands trembled as she stood in the clearing behind her house. Moonlight pooled around her feet, silver and sharp, illuminating the veins of her inner turmoil. The pulse of the Alpha's presence, or perhaps the echo of their bond, coursed through her veins. Her wolf whimpered, thrashing beneath her skin, claws scraping at the edges of her consciousness. She tried to hold it back, tried to remind herself that exposure could mean death, and then it broke. Power surged through her like wildfire, every nerve alight, every heartbeat a drum of rage and longing. Her limbs moved with a speed and strength that felt almost alien, her senses sharpening until every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, every heartbeat in the forest was magnified, crystal clear. Luna gasped, staggering, her pulse pounding in her ears. The mark burned hot on her wrist, glowing faintly as if feeding off her awakening strength. A howl split the night, and her wolf roared in response, a primal cry that shook the clearing. She stumbled backward, barely keeping her balance as branches snapped underfoot, the air thick with the scent of her own unleashed power. This was no longer just a hidden strength. It was a force that demanded recognition, respect, and control. And then she sensed him, the Alpha. His presence flared in the distance, sharp and commanding. His amber eyes pierced the shadows as he stepped into the clearing, every movement controlled, precise, but radiating a heat that made her blood roar. "Luna," he called, voice low and steady, carrying both authority and concern. "Control it. You're not safe like this." "I can't," she gasped, stumbling again, claws digging into the earth as her wolf threatened to break free entirely. "It's too strong." "I didn't." He was at her side in an instant, powerful arms steadying her. His touch sent a shockwave through her, grounding her, tempering the chaos. "I'll help you," he said, amber eyes softening for the briefest moment. "You don't have to fight alone." The words stirred something deep within her, a mixture of relief, fear, and desire. The wolf quivered under her skin, recognizing him, craving him, reacting to the bond in ways she could not yet control. Luna closed her eyes, leaning into his strength, letting it anchor her as the storm inside began to calm. But even as her power settled, she knew the danger had only begun. The rival in the shadows, the uncontrolled surge of her wolf, the mark blazing on her wrist, all of it pointed to one truth: the world she had hidden in was gone. The bond had awakened, and it would not be denied. And somewhere, in the darkness beyond the trees, threats waited patiently. The full moon hung heavy in the sky, spilling pale silver light over the forest clearing. Shadows stretched long and thin across the undergrowth, and every rustle of leaves sounded like a whispered warning. Luna's wolf paced beneath her skin, restless and insistent, claws raking at her consciousness. She had no illusions. Tonight, the rival would strike again, and this time she could not hide. She moved with measured steps, senses sharpened by the bond and the surge of power that still lingered from the last night's awakening. Her wrist burned faintly where the Alpha's mark glowed beneath her skin, a constant reminder that she was no longer alone. Yet even with the bond, fear coiled in her stomach. This rival had seen the mark, he knew, and he would not hesitate to exploit it. A snap of a branch drew her gaze upward. Shadows twisted, and the rival stepped into the clearing, eyes gleaming with malice. "Did you think you could hide from me?" he hissed, voice sharp like a knife. "The Alpha's mark won't save you." The forest seemed to hold its breath. Luna's wolf growled, vibrating through her very bones, demanding confrontation, dominance, release. Her pulse surged, her heartbeat sinking with the predator's challenge before her. She could feel the raw energy crackling in the air, a storm waiting to be unleashed, and then a presence, strong, commanding, undeniable. The Alpha emerged from the shadows, his amber eyes fixed on the rival, body coiled and ready. "Step back," he commanded, voice low and dangerous, "or face consequences you won't survive." The rival smirked, but it faltered when the Alpha's gaze swept over him, fierce and unyielding. With a snarl, he lunged. Luna felt the rush of adrenaline as instincts took over, claws unsheathing in time with her wolf's growl. The clearing erupted into chaos. Trees shook as bodies collided, teeth bared, and the scent of primal fury filled the night. The Alpha moved like liquid fire, each strike precise, each movement protective of her. Luna fought alongside him, her powers unleashed but controlled enough to strike without harming herself. Sparks of energy flashed from her hands, tangling with the rival's attacks, their struggle echoing through the forest. In the midst of the fray, their eyes met, amber to brown, predator to mate. The bond pulsed between them like a living thing, steady and undeniable. Luna felt a warmth spread from her wrist through her chest, grounding her, giving her strength beyond human limits. The fear that had haunted her since the mark appeared was gone, replaced with fierce determination. With a final, decisive move, the rival was thrown to the forest floor, defeated but alive, his threat diminished for now. Luna stumbled back, chest heaving, wolf growling softly beneath her skin, alert and cautious. The Alpha's hand found hers, fingers brushing, grounding her as the adrenaline faded. "You're safe," he murmured, amber eyes softening, yet still burning with unspoken desire. "And you're mine. Do you understand?" Luna's breath caught. Her heart thundered, a mix of relief, awe, and the undeniable pull of something that had been building for weeks. Something fierce, forbidden, and utterly consuming. She nodded, letting herself lean into his strength, feeling the bond tighten, solidify, claim her entirely. The forest fell quiet around them, moonlight bathing their forms in silver. Danger was not gone, not entirely, but for the first time, Luna felt certain of one truth. Together, they could face anything. The forest clearing was quiet now, bathed in the soft silver glow of the lingering moonlight. The echoes of the night's confrontation had faded, leaving only the rhythmic whisper of leaves and the distant call of a night bird. Luna sank to the ground, knees drawn to her chest, her wolf finally calming beneath her skin, heart still racing from adrenaline. The Alpha knelt beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him, his presence steady and grounding. His amber eyes softened, no longer sharp with command but gentle, intense, and all-consuming. "You did well tonight," he said, voice low, almost a whisper, stronger than I ever imagined. Luna looked up, heart catching at the sincerity in his gaze. She began, struggling to find words that could explain the storm of fear, relief, and longing inside her. "I didn't think I could control it." "You didn't have to," he said. His hand brushed against hers, thumb tracing the mark on her wrist, glowing faintly even in the dim moonlight. "That bond, it gives you strength, Luna. It's always been yours to wield." Her wolf trembled beneath her skin, acknowledging him, responding to the bond that had solidified in the heat of battle. Luna's chest swelled with a mixture of awe and emotion. She had hidden for so long, denied herself, pretended that the world and her powers could be tamed. But now, in the quiet aftermath, she realized she was no longer alone, no longer hiding. The Alpha leaned closer, gaze locking with hers. "The world may not understand, and there are dangers yet," he murmured. "But fate, destiny, has chosen you, and I will not let anyone take you from me." A shiver ran down her spine, not from fear, but from the undeniable truth of his words. She could feel it in the steady warmth of his hand, the pulse of the mark, the deep, resonant connection that bound them together. It was real, undeniable, permanent. I'm yours, she whispered, voice trembling. If you want me. He smiled, a slow, commanding curl of lips that sent heat curling through her veins. I don't want, Luna. I claim you. You are mine, and the bond between us is unbreakable. A sense of peace settled over her like the first dawn after a long, stormy night. The threat of rivals, the chaos of the past weeks, even the danger that still lingered, none of it mattered now. What mattered was the bond, the acceptance, the knowledge that destiny had pulled them together for a reason. Luna leaned into him, letting the alpha's strength wrap around her, feeling her wolf finally at rest, content, and whole. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe in something greater, a future shared, a bond unshakable, a love that had survived rejection, danger, and secrets. And as the moon dipped behind the trees, casting the clearing into gentle shadow, Luna knew one truth that could never be denied. She was finally, irrevocably bound by fate. The pack hall was alive with energy, anticipation crackling in the air like static before a storm. Lanterns hung from wooden beams, casting warm, golden light across the gathered wolves, their murmurs and whispered speculations filling the room. Luna walked beside the alpha, her pulse quick but steady. She had never imagined she would stand here, marked, claimed, no longer hiding, yet every instinct inside her knew this moment was inevitable. The alpha raised his hand, and silence fell like a velvet curtain. Every eye in the room turned toward them, curiosity, awe, and some lingering doubt rippling across faces. He stepped forward, gaze sweeping the hall, and finally his amber eyes settled on her. Every word, every movement carried authority, power, and a reverence that set hearts racing. This pack has witnessed much tonight. He began, voice low and commanding, and now you shall witness a truth that cannot be denied. Luna, he said, turning fully toward her, you are my mate. The bond has chosen you, and I claim you in the eyes of this pack. Gasps rippled through the hall. Whispers of disbelief, awe, and admiration followed. Luna's cheeks flushed as the warmth of the bond thrummed through her, her wolf quivering in recognition, ears flicked forward, tail low but steady. She met his gaze, amber meeting brown, and felt every hesitation of the past weeks dissolve. The rival, once a shadow looming over her, stood at the back, silenced by the sheer force of the moment. The mark on her wrist pulsed faintly, a visible connection between them, proof to all that the bond was real. No denial, no interference, no schemes could break it now. The alpha stepped closer, lifting her hand in his. You are mine, Luna. No secret, no deception. No danger can undo what fate has forged. From this moment, you stand not only by my side, but as the rightful mate of this pack. Her chest swelled with a mixture of pride, relief, and overwhelming love. I am yours, she whispered, her voice steady, carrying the weight of every fear and every longing she had ever held inside, completely. The alpha's hand brushed her cheek gently, thumb tracing the curve of her jaw, a simple gesture that spoke volumes. Forever, he murmured. The pack erupted into murmurs of approval, some voices rising in cheers, others bowing their heads in respect. The moment was ceremonial yet intimate, public yet deeply personal, a testament to the bond that had grown in secret, survived rejection, danger, and the awakening of her power. Luna's heart throbbed, a steady rhythm of belonging and love. She could feel the alpha's strength surrounding her, not as a threat, but as protection, devotion, and unwavering claim. She had hidden for so long, pretended she was powerless, denied the pull of destiny, but now, standing there, she knew she had never truly been alone. The ceremony ended, but the connection remained, glowing between them, unbreakable, undeniable. Luna leaned into him, letting the world blur around them, knowing that together they could face any challenge. In the quiet aftermath, the alpha whispered, just for her, "This is only the beginning, mate. But no matter what comes, you will always be mine." And Luna, for the first time, allowed herself to believe it completely.